Welcome in to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips, and we are in the thick of championship season here with the hoops season. I mean, definitely at the high school ranks and below, and you can feel the buzz kind of pumping up for a lot of the college programs as they get really toward conference championships, regular season, and then of course you get into those conference tournaments, and then the big dance. It's fun.
There's no question about it, and as I watch this evolve in the Philadelphia area, we have to send out congratulations to Andre Noble, who joined us last year as the Public League champ. They repeated. Chris Roundtree from Father Judge, he repeated. He was a guest last year. Renee Shields, Archbishop Carroll girls, she's been instrumental all the way through with our women's basketball coverage. Congratulations to all of the teams. And it's a theme. It'll come up in our guest segment today, champions. And I would say this, whatever the level, whether it's a league, a playoff, a district, championships are like a lifetime tattoo. That'll never leave. So the young guys that won the championship at Father Judge this year, forever, they're the 2026 Philadelphia Catholic League champions. They're going to go through ups and downs in their life. But when they gather together in 10 years and 20 years, they'll always be able to say that they were a champion. And our guest today was a champion not only in a league in Philadelphia, but also won a state championship. It's a fascinating story, but it made me realize that health will come and go. Loved ones will come and go, unfortunately. Jobs will come and go. But championships, they last forever, and they create a bond with the student body, with the players, and with the coaching staff. So congratulations to all of the champions, And let's hope that this next month of basketball is as exciting as this last 2-week period has been for championships.
I wonder if there's maybe a championship mindset one might be able to take from the Martelli Minute.
I hope so. Martelli Minute brought to you by Status Solutions, statussolutions.com. What are they doing? They're bringing safety technology to our schools so that the young people, on days that they don't have snow days, like really, what has happened to the snow day?
There's no such thing anymore, right?
No, and it's a curse from COVID. I know we blame a lot of things on COVID, but the fact that administrators believe that you can educate young people virtually, come on, let's do better.
Yeah,
let's do better.
Do they still give like a true snow day? Like when it's like real bad, like they say, you know what,
Just
don't even open up the laptop. Like
when do the kids sled?
Yeah.
When do they go door to door? And I guarantee our guest went door to door in his neighborhood when he was growing up. When do they go door to door to shovel? They don't. They don't sled.
How are kids supposed to make a buck? They don't have
the anxiety of waking up early in the morning, queuing in your radio and saying, what's our number? And once they read your number and they go past it, you think, well, they must have missed it. I'll listen again. Oh. And also the fear that every parent has back then on snow days. Your mother and father had that fear. Oh, if they get a snow day, we're going to be in school till July 4th. What are we going to do?
For me, it was always like the teetering between 2-hour delay and off. You know, you get the 2-hour delay early and you're like, come on, that's not enough.
Not liking the 2-hour delay.
No.
I saw one last night on the screen. It said 1 hour and 30 minutes delay. I was like, okay, that's novel.
90 minutes.
Yeah,
what's the point?
I like that one. But the Martelli Minute, how you respond after a tough, disappointing result defines you. Everybody can celebrate when they win. How do you handle a tough loss? Keep your eyes and ears open to opportunities to spread kindness. Allow your passion to separate you. What you do with what you have is far more important than whatever it is you have. Like you have to share your gifts. Just not hoard them and say, this is what I'm good at. Go make a difference. Best relationships develop from a shared purpose. A winner never gives in, never gives up. And all of these are apropos for our guest and for later in the show when we start talking about where you've been, what have you been doing. The ball connects us with our guest, connects me very closely with our guest, and wait to hear his path in using the ball to do what? Spread kindness. So the guest segment is very special because we're going to feature a friend, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a state champion, a Catholic League champion. LaSalle College, I don't believe it was a university yet, but a LaSalle College grad. And then you know the badge that everybody gets. Anybody comes on this show and we say they're a Philadelphian, that like moves them way up. This is a true Philadelphian. A gentleman and a scholar, an author. I believe it's 3 books, but we'll find out. A savior of a Philadelphia tradition that we're going to talk about. The Markward Club has been and will continue to be nominated to go to the Naismith Hall of Fame. It's a luncheon to honor high school players. And to be honest, it was dying on the vine. And our guest came along and he's now lifted it up. He's now lifted that up. And then in researching, as you know I do, and I went to a bio, here's the quote. And this is above all else why Joe Rapczynski is a guest on Make a Difference. Quote, I want to be a giver. So he's going to give us all of these life lessons that he's learned through the ball with great delight. Let's welcome Joe Rabbi Rapczynski to the Make a Difference podcast. And we have to go right to the top, right to the very top. His involvement in the Markward Club, a Philadelphia tradition that he has stepped up to save. So, Joe, if you could take people outside the area through the Markward Club, what it is, what it means, and why, Joe. Why? There's a lot of opportunities to step forward, but you have stepped to the very front to say, follow me, and let's make this club as special as it's been for a very long time.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words, Phil. A couple things. A lot of people talk about their contributions to the Markward Club and how they did this and how they did that. You mentioned saving the Markward Club. I'd like to say that the Markward Club saved me in that it gave me the opportunity to give back to the game of basketball within the Philadelphia area, to be able to reconnect and to contribute to so many wonderful people has been a great honor for me. As I said before, I think the reason that I became the leader of the Markward Club is because I've been honored by the Markward Club 5 times. And I think what they want to do is make sure that they get their money's worth out of me, and they drafted me. The Markward Club goes back to 1947. John Gillespie was the first one to win after Billy Mark, who was a coach at Roman Catholic and won over 20 basketball championships. He turned down college offers because he was such a coach, but he wanted to remain at Roman Catholic, and his impact on people is what he valued. There's great stories about him. He's just a tremendous person. I think we could talk about the story of Stephen Lee, who was a black basketball player at Roman Catholic back at the turn of the century, last century. And there were schools that would not play Roman Catholic because of that. When Billy Markward went to address his team about that, the captain of the team was John Quirky. And Quirky said, if Stephen Lee can't play, none of us are going to play. And eventually the other teams we're educated to the fact that basketball is an equal opportunity employer, and that when you take the court, you're measured by what you do and how you interact with your teammates and your coach. And I thought that was a great lesson for Philadelphia basketball in general. Billy Markward, and by the way, my CYO coach was the nephew of John Quirkery. Frank Quirkery was my CYO coach. And then I'll throw this in there too. Billy Markward, eventually, he was a construction worker. He was a garbage man for a while. And then he ended up as the recorder of deeds for the city of Philadelphia. And my godmother, my Aunt Irene Adamski, actually worked for him for about a year in City Hall before she moved into another department there. So it's pretty interesting. And I think that wraps up or ties into the theme that we have here, that the Markward Basketball Club connects everybody in basketball in Philadelphia. Whether you're a CYO player, whether you're a playground player, whether you were that guy that could never make the team, but you had a passion for it, you are Billy Markward. Whether you were somebody who won an NCAA championship, you were Billy Markward. Whether you were Wilt Chamberlain, Tom Gola, Michael Brooks, and all the great players who have played for schools in the Philadelphia area, you are Billy Markward. And when Billy Markward passed away, he was so well respected that people got together and they formed this club in his name. And I don't know of too many areas that have a club like this that is so long lasting, that has, in my opinion, worldwide impact, because we've had so many players honored by the club who have gone overseas, and they have taught, and I've had conversations with them, and they would say, yeah, we have this club back in Philadelphia, and they would talk about it. So yes, it's world renowned. And we've had so many great coaches who have gone the international route as well. And so to honor Billy Markward, we honor the players and the coaches who have made outstanding contributions, not only as somebody connected within the game of basketball, but the values that they have. Phil and Jared, I would say this to you. The players and coaches today would look at the way Billy Markward's teams play and they would go, what? You know, like they're walking the ball up the court, they're making 26 passes. And, you know, his emphasis was on getting the very best shot that you possibly could. But here's the special thing about Billy Markward and the Billy Markward Club. The game may have been different, but the values are the same.
Yes.
You get on the court with players and you battle the other team as best you can. It's 5-on-5, and players that come off the bench to be part of that 5-on-5, and the coaches involved. And you emphasize the ideas of teamwork and leadership and effort and picking up your teammates when things don't go well for them, and rising to the occasion when the moment calls for it. That is the best of Philadelphia basketball, and that is Billy Markward, and that's why we celebrate him. Coaches all around the country in his prime contacted him. They came to visit. Now, we're talking before planes. You know, people would travel by trains to come and see him and visit him and go to his practices to learn from him what he knew and how he would be able to teach and impart that to players. We talk about, obviously, James Naismith and the Naismith Hall of Fame. We talk about Claire B. and his influence. And they're obviously Hall of Famers. And Billy Markward, for whatever reason, is not in the Hall of Fame. And that shocks me because his influence is ever-reaching. So we continue to honor the Markward Club. And as I said in the beginning of the question, I'm so glad that I have an opportunity to be saved by the Markward Club and give back to so many great people in Philadelphia.
That is so powerful, and so many nuggets in there that people don't know. The young people that come and the coaches that come don't know. But that whole idea of this is what Philadelphia basketball has stood for, and you know what, continues to stand for. It could be choppy and transfers and all this other thing, but at the end of the day, that get on the floor, respect your opponents, but absolutely positively want to beat their brains in on the court is a big deal. And that's where it comes from. Joe, you've had a long career. Can you take us through your coaching path?
Yes. I was really fortunate to be a roommate of the great Bill Fox at LaSalle College, as you correctly called it at the time. In fact, when I go to games, sometimes I see the old timers, not me old timer, but those old timers, and they'll have LaSalle College, on their sweatshirt. They don't have LaSalle University. They graduated from the college. And Bill got into coaching and coached with Jimmy Lynam and Don DeJulia, who's on the board of directors with the Markward Club at American University, and then became the coach of Father Judge University. And I was really honored and shocked at the same time when he asked me to be his assistant coach along with Tim Furley. And Bill won the championship that year. And so that was really cool. Then I went to Bishop Egan, and my first team at Bishop Egan was Larry Phillips, Jared's dad, and Jimmy Cook and Joe Mulvaney and Dave Gorlaski and Mike McGee and Dennis Quinn and John Hillman and a bunch of others, and just really wonderful kids. I took over a program that had 0 wins on the freshman JV and varsity team, and I had not found my coaching voice. And so I was coaching the way that Fran Doherty and Jack Friel, my high school coaches, coached, and Paul Westhead, my college coach, how he coached, and Bill Fox, how he coached. A little bit of me was in there. Each year there was more of me. And then I grew to a point where I began to feel confident in saying no to things that other people would do and yes to things that I could do. And then I was blessed to be able to come back to my alma mater, North Catholic, and coach there. We won the championship in 1987 with what Speedy Morris calls the second greatest upset in Catholic League history, next to, and I know Phil will like this, to the Kenrick Championship in 76. And I loved where I was. I was teaching and coaching at North Catholic. The fact that I wasn't making a lot of money didn't bother me. My wife, Mary Jo, worked part-time. We were raising our kids, and I could, we had a home that we loved, a neighborhood we loved, and I could literally walk to North Catholic when the weather was good. And then I got the word that the Archdiocese was closing down schools. So I had just gotten my master's degree and certificate from Widener University, where Phil played and Pat Knapp played and others. And so I put my resume out as I was advised to do that. And I ended up going to the Brandywine School District. And my first job was at Concord High School. And it's almost an argument for not being able to hold on to a job. And I was happy there. And then all of a sudden there was a snafu in the administration. I had nothing to do with it, but the upshot of it was that the 5 people, the newest members of each department, would have to go to other schools. And so I ended up at Brandywine High School, which was right down the road from Concord. And that's where I found a home. I was there for 20 years, and we won a state championship there. And I became the winningest coach at Brandywine High School, and things were great. I retired from there. I didn't think I was going to coach. And then where we were living in the Garnet Valley School District, I was asked to coach at Garnet Valley. And much like Bishop Egan, where I had to find my voice, I had left the coaching ranks for a while. And my feeling was I wanted to make a contribution to Garnet Valley and try to help as much as I can. It was the same situation where no wins on the freshman JV or varsity team. I had a basketball camp there, and Eileen Steck and I, daughter of Herb McGee, we ran that for about 25 years. And the community was so great to me that I wanted to give back. And I did my best, but it didn't work out at all. Great kids. And for everything that went wrong, I take full responsibility. But for everything it took right, then I'm going to give give credit to the players and to the coaches as well, to the administrators and everybody who was involved in our program there. Eventually, from there, I became the head coach in what would you call it, at Newman University. I was not part-time, gosh. There was a problem with the head coach, and then I ended up becoming the interim head coach. That's the word I'm looking for. Interim, that's the word, right. And again, not being able to hold a job. So we were in 7th place, and the top 4 went to the playoffs. We ended up getting into the playoffs, and we won a playoff game. And I thought it was a really good experience for the players, I and myself, but I was really glad for the players because the season did not go the way we thought it was going to go, and it ended up being better than we thought. And my wife and I and the kids were grown, and we decided that we wanted to see if we wanted to live along the Jersey Shore. And I was contacted, and they asked me to be a teacher and be an assistant basketball coach. I thought, oh, this works out really good. You know, I can always defer to the head coach at this point. And we ended up winning the South Jersey title. And I think we were 24-3 that year. And Dave DeWeese was the head coach, and I really liked working for him.
There's 2 things that jump to me, and I'm going to ask them. I had them written one way. I'm going to reverse the order. The North Catholic pride. Can you speak that into existence?
The people who set the tone back then in 1926 was such a good foundation that everybody who followed just seemed to fall in line. There were so many of us. When I was at the school, when I graduated in 1970, we had 3,600 students. They were all boys. In the 1950s, we had so many students that we actually had 4 or 5 parishes send their kids to West Catholic. Wow. So that instead of getting on one side of the L to go to North Catholic, there were kids on the other side going to West Catholic. And there were brothers who were juniors or seniors on one side, and their brothers on the other side who were freshmen and sophomores. And the values of a working class neighborhood seemed to permeate, the school. Discipline was strong. Caring about each other was strong. The teacher-student interaction relationship was strong. And there was a sense that you were stepping into something special, even when you entered the building. Like other people have spoken about it different ways, but for me, the first day I walked into North Catholic, I knew I was stepping into something greater than myself. And I wanted to try to drink that in as much as I could. I would not articulate that to anybody at the time, because as a freshman, they would say, "What the heck are you talking about?" But I think everybody felt what I just said, that this was something special and greater than ourselves, and we wanted to do our best to contribute to it. The loyalty of North Catholic knows no bounds. People travel from all over to join in different celebrations. In fact, it's the school 100th year anniversary. We've been closed now, let's see, in 16 years. This will be the 16th year the school's closing, but when we have alumni get-togethers, it's not we'll have one at the Jersey Shore, and 12, 13, 1,400 people will show up. We'll have our communion breakfast, and our communion breakfast, again, being closed for 16 years, will be somewhere around 350. I expect the number to be a lot greater this year because of the 100-year anniversary. Plus, our guest speaker is going to be a great guest speaker this year as well, and Phil knows who that is. So it's him. I think that kind of captures the idea of North Catholic. The values of the neighborhoods permeated the school. The school reciprocated with the same values. They supported the parents. The parents supported the school, and just so many. That environment created a situation where so many people were able to be the sons of policemen, firemen, construction workers and so on, and they went on to become doctors and lawyers and politicians, leaders of politicians throughout the Delaware Valley. The impact of North Catholic continues, and Philadelphia is a better place because of the influence of North Catholic.
Joe, all through this path, coaching, and this is a really tough question, and I know you'll agonize over this one, but is there one player who was most influential to you as a person, to you as a coach, to you as a teacher? Is there one story, one player story that resonates with you?
Yeah, if you're talking about, what player or coach, impacted me, I can think of two. The first one is, I'll go back to Jack Quirkery, who also coached with Frank Quirkery, my CYO coach. I was a terrible basketball player. I was a big kid, and that's why they kept me on the team. And, we went to the LaSalle tournament, if anybody remembers that,
Yes.
where CYO teams would come from all over the 5-county area to compete against each other. It became a recruiting tool for LaSalle academically. And then, of course, if there was any good basketball players around. And I was a 7th grader on the 8th grade team, and they're a great bunch of kids, but, they were partial to themselves. And I understand that, and we're great friends today. But I didn't get much playing time. And so my father drove one day to the LaSalle tournament and drove the team up. And I think Jack Quirkery put me in the game for like a curtain call for like 15 seconds to go in the third quarter, just so my father could see me on the court. And because I was motivated, because I wanted to show the 8th graders that I belonged on this roster, because the roster would be cut for the LaSalle tournament, right? You might have 15 kids, but you could only carry 10. They would only allow you to suit 10. And so I wanted to prove my worth. So he puts me into the game, and I got a rebound. And so that was a good sign, for Jack Quirkery. He kept me in the game. And I'll say the game was maybe a 3-4 point game in terms of us being ahead by 3 or 4. And I went into the fourth quarter, and I played, I think we had 6-minute quarters because they had so many games going on. And for the 5 minutes, I may have been the second or third best player on the floor. And he took me out again to get another curtain call because I played well. And I didn't think anything of it. But as I was running off the court, Jack Quirkery stood up and he yelled at the top of his lungs. He said, "Joe, you played great."
Wow.
And that hit me like a bolt of lightning. It hit my head, came through my heart, went to my feet. And from that point on, I could not get enough basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the first one. The second one was my good friend, Joe Ivanisic, who was my next door neighbor. He was a year older than me, and we played basketball all the time. And he had something that I did not have. He was aggressive and tough, and I was just still trying to find my way. And he, in many different ways, impressed upon me that I had to be stronger, I had to be grittier, and so on and so forth. And he taught me that. And I think that carried me a long way, giving me an aggressiveness early on in high school that helped me. And Joe was one of the members of the junior varsity team in 1968 when the varsity was suspended for cutting classes, and the JV team won against Bishop McDevitt. And that was a tremendous accomplishment because nobody thought that the JV team had a chance to win except the JV players themselves. And, Phil, you asked me about the school, and, the next day in the school was just unbelievable euphoria over that victory. And that still resonates today. The varsity players were great kids and great players. Hank Simiakowski, the great Hank Simiakowski, who played at Villanova and played some professional basketball in the NBA and then overseas, was a member of that team along with others. Just a situation that got a little bit out of hand, And, where I would say our coach, Jack Friel, who I learned so much basketball from, and he had great values that imparted upon myself. As a disciplinarian, he had to leave his office and actually go searching for the varsity basketball team who had been allowed to go out to breakfast on the first day of the playoffs. And that put a lot of pressure on him as a disciplinarian. And the result was the varsity was suspended, and the JV team took the floor and won. And I think that encompassed the North Catholic spirit. Like, hey, just give me the opportunity, show what I can do, and we'll do it. And I think that's a good example of it.
So Jared, you understand what happened? They're playing the playoffs at the Palestra, right, Joe?
You got it. First round.
Going to the Palestra. They have mass. The players go out to breakfast.
And we were allowed to go out to breakfast.
Told to be back at X time.
Yes.
And they weren't back at X time. So if you heard Joe's description of it was a discipline-based school, right?
Yes.
And so they bring the JV. So can you imagine being a JV player, being in school, having your ticket probably to go to the game because everybody went to the games, and then being told, well, you're going to play. So I have to follow this up with some, this has always blown my mind when I read your great book about it and you heard the stories growing up in that league. Joe, how good was that JV team during the season? Were they undefeated?
I was a JV varsity player in my sophomore year. So we were 500.
Wow.
Bishop McDevitt's, I think we split with Bishop McDevitt's JV team. And so now keep this in mind. Jack Friel, the head coach, and Fran Doherty was the junior varsity coach who did a great job of developing the talent and was my coach my senior year, and has always had a big impact in my life. But the philosophy of the JV team at North Catholic was everybody's going to play. Yes. All 14 guys on that team are going to play every game. When we got to the fourth quarter, whoever Fran Doherty thought, and this was the philosophy, were playing the best, then those five would play, trying to win the game in the fourth quarter. But everybody played. And so that's the reason that the team was 500. I mean, I think if we played our best players, then we could have gone 20-2 or something like that. But those players, the players in that team were really good players. I mean, you think of, say, Mike Kaiser earned a scholarship to Loyola of Baltimore. Iggy Rapczynski went on to play for Drexel. Jim Boylan earned a scholarship to Villanova. And Jared, I think your dad had Jim Boylan in class at Bishop Egan. He was my first JV coach. Joe Ivanisic, who I mentioned, went to community college, and he was first team in that league in his freshman and sophomore year. And Billy Dever was the kind, and people say this all the time about him. He was, I think, the guy who became the favorite in the papers and in the interviews afterwards that followed, because he was about 5'7", 5'8", but he was a spitfire, and he was tough as nails. And this is just the difference in recruiting today. And Phil and Jared, playoff game in my senior year, I think it was John Carpenter was the coach of Ryder. I believe he was. He came into our locker room and he said to Fran Doherty, he said, "I will offer any of your players a full scholarship, but I need to know in 2 days." And so Joe Reimel and myself and Jim Boylan and Gene Queter had scholarship offers already. Billy Dever did not. Had Billy Dever said yes, he would have been a Division I player at Ryder, but he did not. He was involved with, waiting to see what would happen, because he was a football player as well. His sophomore year, the biggest game of the year, Frankfurt High School and North Catholic. Think of your biggest rivals.
Yes.
That was the biggest rivalry. And you talk about the Palestra being packed. Well, when North and Frankfurt played, it was always packed. So Billy Dever is a sophomore. The first two quarterbacks get hurt. Okay, Billy, you're starting. And they won the game, because of just his ability to elevate the people around him with not so much his words, and he could do that, but with the way he performed, the way he went about doing everything. So I think he did the same thing that night with the JV team. But the point is, for Iggy and people I was mentioning, they turned out to be great players.
Yes.
It wasn't like we were playing a JV team or our JV team, did not have anybody who would go on to college or anybody. Jim Boylan as a sophomore was 6'6". Mike Kaiser was 6'4". Iggy Rapczynski was 6'3". So we had talented players who could play. And I would add this too, and I think it's pretty interesting. We had Mike Kaiser was a junior and Iggy Rapczynski was a junior.
Yes.
And they felt slighted that they were not on the varsity. They felt like they were better than guys on the varsity. I don't believe that's true, but they felt that way. And so, when they had their chance that night, they were going to show what they could do, and they did.
So, Joe, we have to keep going with this because you win the playoff game against McDevitt. Who was
Correct.
the next opponent?
The next opponent was O'Hara.
And what was the roster makeup?
Very good question.
Yeah,
so
I've always wondered about that.
So here's what happened as I look back in retrospect, and even 5 or 6 years after the events, as I became a coach and started to think about it, we ended up having the varsity reinstated, and we took the top 6 players of the J team. So we ended up having 17 players suiting up, and in that game against O'Hara, it's an interesting dynamic. And as basketball fans and as a coach, you'll understand this. O'Hara had already played their first game in the Palestra, and there's a nervousness about that, especially for young kids. And for the varsity, it was their first game in the Palestra. Okay. So O'Hara's playing their second game. They're a little bit more comfortable. And looking back on it, I think we had difficulty getting untracked. We did not shoot the ball well. I also think the seniors felt a little bit of pressure because they were the guys suspended. Really wasn't articulated to the general basketball community as to what happened. And people being who we are as a people will jump to conclusions. And some of them weren't very nice. So I think there was extra pressure on them. And we went into the fourth quarter. I think we were down 12 going into the fourth quarter. And this is going to make my point about Billy Dever. Jack Friel puts Billy Dever into the game, and we end up tying the game. And I think there's a component not only about Billy Dever's spirit and ability to uplift and elevate the lives of others, but he and Hank Simiankowski played tons of basketball together at Cohocton Playground. And he knew Hank inside out, and he knew how to get him the ball. And that's what happened. I think Hank had like 16 points in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
It looked like we were going to win the game, and then it got away from us. And O'Hara had 2 last shots. They had the last shot with about 4 seconds to go, and it missed. And Lou Farrow came running across the lane, and with his left hand, he is a left-handed player, tapped the ball in, and they won the game. I guess a tap is not considered a shot, but 2 possessions they ended up having with it. And so that was the end of it.
That JV team went on the next year. What was their results the next year?
Next year, we were 22-2, and we lost to Roman in the championship game. Roman had Mike Bantam, Mike Moody, Jim O'Brien, Larry Storm, and John Penzinski. I'm laughing because I just thought of John Penzinski, who went on to play at Delaware. In the scouting report, it said, don't worry too much about Penzinski. He can't score. And I think he ended up with 22 points. So So you're right. You have to respect everybody, no matter what a scouting report says.
We all have those scouting reports that we think, I hope they never become public. Joe, you've had like the highest level, state champion, Catholic League champion. What was in the DNA of those teams that allows them to this day to be called champions?
I think the player-coach relationship, there was a mutual respect and a thirst for players to drink in any knowledge that a coach could impart. And there were good personal characteristics, as if, it's a basketball game, but it would be as if we were in a job or in our family or in any other endeavor. We were in it together. We were going to support one another. I think perseverance and persistence in our North Catholic Championship team. We got off to a bad start, and then we eventually got better, and then we got to a point where we found our game, found our best game, and we were able to go on and win a championship, defeating Roman Catholic, who had 5 Division I players. A real quick story about that and about the personal attributes of it and the way people rally. We had a player whose father had passed away, and we went to practice. I had to go put some time into my part-time job. I came back, I picked the kids up. We went to the viewing, and I had been out of the house all day. And I was like, I went out to the van because I was going to take the kids back to school, and then they would, take the L to go home. And I was by myself. My team was still in there. And so I went back in, and Dave Master Pietro and Kevin Comey were the captains of the team. And I said, very gently, I just tapped them on the shoulders and said, "You guys ready?" And they both looked at me, and I don't know whether it was Dave or Kevin, but the words were, "Coach, this is our teammate. We want to support him. We want to be here for him." Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was, you talk about out of the mouths of babes and what you can learn. I just sat right down, and whenever we were going to get out of there, we were going to get out of there. And then the next day, we attended the funeral. But I thought that molded us. It had. Yes. I know I had great respect for my team, but after that, I had greater respect for them as the kind of individuals they were. And I think that molded us, brought us together, and then we went on to win the championship. At Brandywine, winning a state championship, we were the favored team. We had very good players, Reggie Okosa, Teron Briscoe, and we were favored early on, so everybody was out to get us. And we went through some difficult times as well early on, trying to figure everything out. And I can remember, I think I was an early Andy Reid advocate because I remember we were upset at home, and I think my team drifted. In the locker room, there all of a sudden questions come about, and I just brought everybody together and I said, "Listen, we're not playing our best, and that's because of me." And that's why I bring up the Andy Reid quote comment, because that's what he would do. And I said, "But I'm recommitting to our team. I'm not only continuing the commitment, but recommitting to it. And I'm asking you to do the same, because from here on in, it's not going to be my fault. I'm going to be able to look at myself and say, I gave more than anything I could. For a short time, I would be putting my basketball team before my family, before my job, and everything else." And then we were able to go on and win the state championship. Interestingly enough, we won 2 overtimes in a 4 playoff setting. In the first overtime game we won, we were down by 12 with 2:08 to go. And I remember thinking to myself, I have to think of something nice to say to pick these guys up.
Yes.
The game.
Yes.
And kid, this is the foul shot. Our guy grabs it, Phil McFadden, hits a 3. runs into the inbounds pass and scores in a layup. Now it's 7 with 2 minutes to go. Call a timeout. I say, hey, we're pump everybody up. We're going to win the game. And we go into overtime and we win the game. And so we come in, and I know we're a public school, but I said, all right, everybody, let's get down on one knee and say a prayer, because this is divine intervention. There's no, no way we should have won that game. And I tried to get the tape of the game because we did not tape it. And I called the coach about 2 days later. He said, I have to be honest with you, Joe. He said, I burned that tape. So, and then in the championship game, we were down. It was a double overtime game, and we won the state championship in a double overtime game in front of a packed house at the Bob Carpenter Center.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool.
So, unbelievable memories and concepts in there, thoughts that impact all of us. So I have to ask you, at the end of our segment, we always ask this question: who's made a difference in Joe Rapczynski's life?
Wow. So, so off the court, I would say my wife, Mary Jo, has made a difference in my life. And then I would say Fran Doherty, my coach my senior year, has made a difference in my life. I know that's 2. I'm stretching the point, but different categories. So those would be the 2 people.
Yeah. Well, I knew it. I knew we would have this. And he did not say Larry Phillips. Jared's poking me.
No, he brought Big Larry up, and we got to set the record straight, like on the air here, because my father claims that he went 91 for 91 from the free throw line his senior year. And with all due respect, a terrific lefty shooter, better than I will ever be. But Joe, we got to, can you dig up an old scorebook from 76 and let us know? Because I mean, it would be a truly remarkable feat if that were the case.
Yeah, I do know that one of the first things I found out about Larry Phillips was after our first tryout, and he came up to me and just, talked about different things. And he said something like, Coach, I made 47 straight foul shots last year. And it took me aback. I said, boy, that's really good. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, thanks, Coach. And you're right. He was a good shooter. And he had a left-handed shot right off his hip. He would shoot off his hip. And so when we got into the regular season, he was on a roll with making foul shots. So I will follow up on your request, and I will see if I could dig up scorebooks. Now, I can even call people at Conwell Egan now, that we call it, and look up the records, see if somebody there could look up the records as well. But he was a good shooter. I'll take him at his word that he made 47 in a row. I know he had a streak going when I first took over, and we'll figure it out.
Joe, it's been an honor to have you. Thank you. Most especially, thank you for your friendship.
I appreciate that, Phil.
Thank you.
Likewise from our end as well.
Thank you,
Joe. Thanks so much.
You got it, Jared. Take care, my friend.
Well, I'll tell you what.
91.
Jury's still out.
If you got fouled 91 times to get to the line 91 times, he was in on the action.
That's what I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's impossible. He could have done it.
91 in a row. You would know about that.
That's what I thought. I was like, that's got to be some kind of record or something. They got to have that somewhere because,
wow.
Look, love my dad.
Let's check it.
Love my dad, but
has
he been one to stretch a tail a bit?
Yeah,
from time to time for the sake of a good story, sure.
I will say this: the fact that your mother never brought that up to me while she was alive, I have to question, because she would definitely know. And she would have called him on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wonder. I mean, I think maybe it's something that he knows he doesn't have someone around to check it. He can kind of get away with a little bit more. I don't know.
We'll see.
All due respect, though, good shooter.
But 91 in a row, that would be a great coach's corner. But I have a different take on it right now.
Well, what may that be?
Well, the coach's corner I want to encourage everybody out there. And again, this is for CEOs. This is for parents and grandparents and truck drivers and whoever tunes in. This time of the year, some teams are packing up. But whenever your season ends, I'm going to beg everybody out there that has the title of coach, assistant coach conversations, right? And then player conversations. And along this, with this being the point, how can I help you reach your goals or your dreams? Sit and talk and listen. During the course of the season, you want to say communicate, but we're communicating about the next opponent, maybe communicating about your individual game, the improvements that need to be made. But now, as the spring approaches, we think, despite what's outside, as spring approaches and you're formulating your team, your camp, your tournaments that you're going to go to, the opportunities for players to play together in spring leagues and summer leagues, sit with each individual person in your program and ask them that directly. What are your dreams and your aspirations? Why are you sacrificing? Joe Rapczynski talked about all the sacrifice that he's done with the idea of the player being at the center of it. So sit and say to them, write it down. The second question you ask is, what keeps you up at night when you think about these dreams and aspirations? And many of us think about, well, I can't get there because, well, let's talk about that. And then the last thing that I would ask all coaches to do would be to ask this often: how can I help? It's one of the most powerful statements that you can make person to person. How can I help? And then build that. So it's not, well, go make 91 free throws. It's, here's how I can help. And I want to help. That's why that title is so valued. The coach. It's really the helper, the guide, the mentor. So just a thought for not X's and O's, but in the coaching corner today, let's see how we can help others.
I love that. I mean, every program that isn't doing some sort of like exit interview with every assistant, every player, every manager, like how are you truly improving on your program if you're not touching on all those bases, checking in with everybody, and just seeing as you head into an off season, what's next, right?
Yeah, it's not a copy machine where you just, what's it called, print and paste or whatever. You have to be looking for these tweaks. So it's an encouragement to everybody. You're running a business. How's the receptionist doing? How's that intern doing? And how can you help them reach their dreams and their aspirations? When you can help, you encourage others to help you. It's not a selfish act. It's a byproduct of you asking how I can help.
That's what leadership looks like, right?
Should certainly. But I would challenge anybody to lead, who's a leader, to follow what I'm about to share with you.
It's a doozy, isn't it?
It was quite the trip. So where have I been? And we've restricted that to one place, but I can't because of some things that have happened, byproducts of it. I went down to the GW at VCU game, took the train, test out my skills on the train. Fascinating trip.
Are you like a savvy public transit guy? Like,
Not really.
no.
But I got there and I enjoyed the experience. And I walk in and there's Bones Highland, the NBA's Bones Highland, VCU 2 years, a young man that I met when he was 14 years old. And at 15 said to him, if you do this right, you're going to be an NBA player. And to have a chance to connect with him and the joy that he brought to that game. And then after the game, disappointing loss for GW, to sit with Dwayne Lee. Dwayne Lee, who had maybe, well, here was his task. He was the point guard after Jameer Nelson. And he did it with such class and ability that his team played for the NIT championship. Dwayne Lee played for the best basketball coach in America, Bob Hurley, in high school. Trusted us at St. Joseph's. And he will be a head coach someday. And I was just so proud to see him and to share with him. Came home, regrouped. I had to be there to see St. Louis VCU, so I flew there. And terrific environment. Really, really hard-fought game for about 30 minutes. And then St. Louis playing 5 guys shooting over 40% from 3. Their offensive onslaught took VCU out of that game. Got back in time to go to a CYO 5th and 6th grade girls Elite 8 game. And St. Mary Magdalene has advanced to the Final Four. And then Sunday, probably a Delco special, went to a celebration of life for Bob Kleinberg, who was on hospice but was there. Large family from Lansdowne, married to Judy's friend from college. 54 years they've been together as friends. Mary Kate, their family, there were skits, there were songs, there was laughter, there were tears. And I had a chance to stop there and spend some time, even though Judy was on the IR for a long stretch of time last week. But then where will I go? And again, recalling one of our earlier segments, the Marple Newtown Minithon this Friday. Get out there. We'll get information out, bid on things, support these young people. The response that we got back was that they have more student participation than ever, largest student participation this year, but they're short on dollars. We have to do something. Come on, they came on Make a Difference, and they ran the show, those young ladies.
You want to talk about making a difference? That was
raising money.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a trip to Richmond for Fordham at VCU. On a plane that afternoon after the game to do DePaul at Marquette, and then home. And then I have a long run, but I'm going to get into that next week, where there's VCU, and then there's a game to broadcast, and then another VCU, and then home. And I want to give and we'll put this information out there. Coaches versus Cancer will be there in a couple of weeks. The breakfast is at Xfinity. What's the arena called now?
Xfinity Mobile Arena now.
It'll be there on the floor. We're going to move away from the Palestra. And we have some unbelievable analysts coming in, including the legendary Billy King. So he'll tell some Duke stories, and I'm sure Duke will be a number 1 seed. But we'll put that information out. But it's all about this basketball. And you know what next Sunday is, right?
Wait, why am I blanking? What's next Sunday?
March 1st.
It's March.
Anything can happen for that 5-week period until April. But you know what will definitely happen? We don't know what will happen in basketball. We do know Make a Difference will be with you all throughout March. We're all lined up with fascinating guests.
Oh, yeah. Some awesome ones in the next couple weeks.
People who are truly making a difference, just as Joe Rapczynski and the Markward Club has made a difference.
That's right. Our thanks again to Joe Rapczynski for joining us. Some amazing stories. Someone with just, a longer Philadelphia basketball resume than most can have the pleasure of saying. We thank him so much for joining us. We have another terrific guest coming on next week, doing some really awesome things in the Philadelphia area that we will get into next Monday. But for now, if you were looking to make a difference with Phil, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That is where you can get in touch with Phil, tell him your story, and you can help him either on the court, off the court, in the workplace, in the classroom, wherever that may be. That is how you can help make a difference. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, we'd really appreciate that 5-star rating. And if you're looking for the Martelli Minute, it is every morning at 6:30 a.m. at Phil_Martelli on Instagram. That is all I've got for you, Phil. Our thanks again to Joe. One last thing.
Go Rams.
Go Rams.